Alright guys, I got a video for you. We're learning how to use Blender. It's going to be one of my first real Blender videos. I'm not very good at Blender, but check out what I was able to accomplish. Now, I'm not really good at Blender. I am literally learning from scratch, but I was able to make an ant and an ant animation with him walking. I can prove it to you that I actually did this. I did it all myself. I've been putting in a lot of time, so let's check out my progress. So I started out with a picture of an ant, and I put it on the corners like so, or the edges, so you can see the ant from one side, the other, from the top side, and from below. Then what I did is I put in some icospheres like this. So there's my ant. I added in spheres. Then I saved over one of them, so I started sculpted the head. I feel like I have a better one. Let me see if I have a different one. I might not. I might have saved over it in class when I was showing y'all at class, but it's okay. Then I added the legs. Then, which one was on? 4 right now, so 5. Then I added the rest of the legs. Then I started working on the abdomen. Let's see, 6. Yeah. Then I shaped the abdomen. Let's see, what else did I do? I think that one's just like smoothing it out. And you can see over here the parts that I've added. Which one am I on? 8. It's all looking about the same. I think I was just playing around. Anyway, I get to, I think, 9, where I add the actual rig. The rig is the bones and stuff. And you'll notice there's a lot of different saves here. I saved a whole bunch of times because I kept making mistakes. And I think that one I added the bones for the antenna. Anyway, I kept making mistakes, and I don't know, it was just really frustrating learning all this stuff for the first time, but I just didn't want to give up. I think I can actually move it. Let me see if I can do pose mode. Grab this one. See, I can actually move the ant around, and it'll actually, oh, that didn't, I'm not binded with it yet. Let me go to the next one. Don't save. 12, let's do 12. Alright, there we go. Let's go to pose mode. See if I can show my armature here. See, I don't understand half the time how stuff hides itself. Anyway, there's a rig in there. I have to figure out how to find it again. I thought you could see it in pose mode. I'll pause this right quick and I'll find it. Alright, I found it. I just needed to turn the layer on. I was clicked off of the layer. Okay, so this layer's got my bones in it that I put in, and then if I want to move the ant around, I can grab a control bone and he can move around, and it's pretty neat, I think. Let's see, how do I hide this armature? There we go. So you can see him moving around. And then you can move all the parts of the ant. Make him look like he's stinging something. You can move his face around. Make him look like he's biting something. You could also move his antenna around to make him look like he's searching for something. And you can move the legs. The legs are a little different. I think I have to grab like this and then like pick it up. I don't know. Let me see if I can do it. It might not let me. Like I said, I'm really new at this thing. Okay, so like the bottom feet are locked in place, but you can pick them up. I just don't know which. Maybe it's object mode. Yeah, there we go. So I can pick them up and move them, so it makes it look like he's trying to, like he's trying to walk. Oops. Oops. I'm so bad at this. Alright, there we go. Anyway, so this has been my journey. I've spent quite a bit of time working on this guy. But why am I telling you all this? Because if I can do it, I know that you guys can do it. It is very frustrating. I will definitely tell you guys that it is extremely frustrating at times. I get some really weird like glitches that I don't understand. But if you save frequently, you won't lose much time. So all those little spots that I just showed you were different save points. So if you save often, you won't get set back really far. If I tried to work really far without saving, I would lose so much progress that it would drive me nuts. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with this. We're going to start making a cactus, and I'm going to teach you about the basics of what I've been learning about Blender. Alright, so how do I move around? Hold on, let me pause this and I'll turn on my little windowed thing. Alright, I turned on my little on-screen keyboard deal so you can kind of see the buttons I'm using. Okay, let me see. Oh, I think I have to leave that up. I think I learned that. Okay, so there we go. Alright, to move the window around or orbit, you're going to use the middle mouse click and you're going to move the mouse around. If you want to zoom in and out, you can scroll the wheel up and down like so. Another good set of movement. Oh man, hold on, let me pause it one more time. Okay, I put on a full screen keyboard so you can see these next ones. I'll probably not use the full screen the whole time, but if you press 1 on the numpad, you can see one side. If you hold control and press 1, it flips over to the back side. So 1, and then so it'll give you Y, and then the other side of Y. And then if you do the 3 key, it looks under the bottom. If you hold control, it looks over the top. It might be kind of hard to tell with just a cube, but we're panning around and looking in front and behind the objects. Then you can also use 7. That'll look at the sides. You know what? Let me change this object. I'll change it to something else. I'm going to get rid of the camera and stuff. So I just deleted those. Let's do something that... Let's do like a cylinder, and I'll put Shift A is what I'm using to add these things. I'll put an icosphere. You don't have to do this, I'm just doing it so you can kind of get an idea of what's happening whenever I use that button over there, and we'll do a cone. Alright, so if I press 1, I'm looking at one side, and if I hold control and press 1, I look at the opposite side. If I push 3, I'm looking from the X side, and then hold control and press it again. It will flip you around to the opposite side. Now if you press 7, you're looking at the top. If you hold control and press again, you're looking at the bottom. Let's see what 7 and 9 does that. And then you can also use 4 to orbit in that direction, or 6 or 8 I actually do use these buttons. So if you're on a laptop, I had a student, I think it was Ethan, tell me that you can turn this on. Ooh, I don't know if I'm gonna remember, but I'm gonna try. Let's see, preferences, interface. Oh, come on, I think I can figure it out. It's in here somewhere. Emulate numpad, right there under input. Look at me go. So go to input and go to emulate numpad. If you're on your laptop and you can emulate those keys, I don't know how this works, I'm not on a laptop, but there you go, I gave you some help. Alright, so those are the buttons for looking around. You can also do 5 and it gives you orthogonal view. It's kind of like that game, oh, what's the game called? Roller Coaster Tycoon. Alright, so the big deal with moving to these sides, when you go to move objects, they will move on just these two planes. So over here on the right hand side you can see the X and Y and Z locations, and when I go to move these, how am I doing that? Hopefully you can see on the keyboard, I'm pressing G, so I select on it, I press G, and it will move the object up and down. Now it's constrained to the X and the Z location, like so. Alright. If I go to the other side, I can just see on the other side. But if I go to like the top down view and I move, it's constrained on the Y and the X. Now moving in a 3D game or 3D program, it's kind of disorienting trying to move things around. Like if you wanted to like move this object way back here and make it small, you can't just move it up there because it doesn't know that you want to do it unless you know the keys for it. So over here on the side, these are some of the buttons. I'll show you some of them and I'll explain how we can move this cylinder or this whatever cone all the way back there small, like tiny, like it's way off in the distance. Okay, so you have the selection button, you have this thing. This is the cursor. If you hold shift and right click on your mouse, it will move that. What that thing does is whenever you spawn an object, it will spawn the object on that cursor, like so. So it's putting those objects where I am, where this cursor is. So shift right click moves that around. Shift right click, or you can click on it and then click where you want the thing. Alright, let's move this guy out of my way. Alright, the next one is the move button. When you select on that, whatever you're selected on gets these handles, and you can click and drag like this. And when you click and drag on the handles, it moves on that certain plane. So it's moving on the Y plane. You can tell right there up in the top right, it's got the little compass thing here, and it tells you which way. So if I want to move it only up and down on the Z, and you can look over here on the side here, you can see it's only moving on the Z, or only moving on the X, or only moving on the Y. Or you can, I think you can just click G, and now it grabs the thing, and you can move it in whatever direction your camera is facing. So right now it's able to move on all three of them, right? Alright, so I said I wanted to move it way back there in the distance. What I can do is I can press G to move it around, but then I can click X on my keyboard, and it says that means constrain it to the X coordinate. So I can move it way back there. Then I can say G again, and this time I want to move on the Y. So now it's stuck on the Y coordinate. Look there. So I can move it back, and I could do it again, G and then Z, and I can move it up and down if I wanted, but way over there, constrained, only moving on the Z. Now if I grab it again and I try to move it, you're gonna see this is just the regular G movement, and if I hit X or Z or Y, so that's help you out a lot. Alright, let's go to the next one. The next one is the rotate button. I'm going to select an object a little closer. I'll move it over here. If I use the rotate button, you'll notice it gives me little circular handles. You can click on those circular handles and move them around like so. and it rotates it on the Y. Look over here on the right, it's moving it only on the Y. If I grab the blue handle, it's going to rotate it on the Z. If I grab the red handle, it's going to rotate it. Oops, I missed the handle. There we go. It'll rotate it only on the X, but since it's all tilted already, another good key for you to remember is Control Z. That's undo. So let me move it here. I'll grab this red thing again. There we go. It's rotating on only the X with the red one. Okay, so undo, that's a useful tool. Let's stop and talk about that. So Control Z will undo stuff. Control Shift Z will redo stuff. So there. You can see how that works. Now, your version of Blender is currently stuck on a maximum of 32 resets. So if you come up to the top left, hit File, and go to maybe it's Edit Preferences, and then go to System. And my undo steps are at 256. Yours are stuck at 32, so turn them up. I would recommend, if obviously it uses more memory, but so you can play around with that. If your computer can't handle it, then don't do it, but if you can, I recommend turning it up, so you can have more undos. It always seems like I need to undo it more. Okay, let's go to the next button, that's Scale. Let's get some handles for scaling on the X, on the Y, and on the Z. You can also use the letter S to scale, scaling up and down, and if you want to constrain it on those axis, you can do X, you can do Z, you can do Y. Then you can do this one is transform, which literally gives you all of them. You have the handle to move it, you have the handle to scale it, you have this handles to rotate them. Alright, I'm gonna stop this video here because it's getting kind of long, and I'll start another one.